The silence in Principal Anderson's office feels engineered. It presses down from the recessed lights. It settles into the grain of the mahogany desk. It hums beneath the faint tick of the wall clock. Jake Mitchell stands in front of that desk with his head lowered. There is dirt beneath his fingernails, dark crescents packed deep from the morning's work repairing fence posts with his father. A thin scratch runs across his knuckle where barbed wire snapped back. He rubs his thumb against it, small, automatic. Principal Anderson does not look at the scratch. He adjusts his wire-rimmed glasses and signs his name in a slow, deliberate stroke. The pen glides across heavy cream paper. The sound is soft but final. Ink dries quickly. Across the office, sunlight filters through tall windows, catching dust in the air. The room smells faintly of lemon polish and something sharper, expensive cologne that lingers in still spaces. Behind the glass partition, the school secretary watches without pretending not to. Beyond her, in the waiting area, a cluster of well-dressed parents sit in muted colors and pressed fabrics. A gold bracelet shifts against a wrist. A heel taps once against polished tile. Jake does not look at them. The paper slides across the desk. It stops inches from his hands. Meadowbrook Academy maintains standards, Principal Anderson says, folding his fingers together. His voice is even, practiced. We cannot allow behaviors that disrupt the social balance of our student body. Jake swallows. His throat feels tight, like he's swallowed dust. He hears the words, but not their shape. Disrupt. Balance. Behavior. He stares at the corner of the paper where his name is printed in neat black letters. Asterisk, asterisk, Jake Mitchell. Asterisk, asterisk. Expelled. 3 days. That's all it took. Outside, a breeze moves through the courtyard. Dry leaves scrape across stone in restless circles. The flag at the entrance shifts, rope tapping lightly against the metal pole. Inside, no one moves. Principal Anderson clears his throat. Several parents have expressed concern. From behind the glass, one of those parents shifts in her seat. Silk rustles. Jake keeps his eyes down. He thinks about the cafeteria table, the plastic tray, the half sandwich he pushed across without thinking. He thinks about rain soaking into the back of his shirt during recess and the way Marcus's shoulders had been shaking before he handed over his jacket. He thinks about the folded bills he'd saved for weeks, 20, 10, 5 creased and warm from his pocket. He hadn't counted what it would cost. Now he knows. Your actions, the principal continues, have unintentionally created discomfort among your peers. Jake's jaw tightens. Discomfort. He shifts his weight. His boots, cleaned but still worn at the edges, leave faint marks on the pale rug beneath him. He notices them immediately and lifts his heel slightly, as if he can erase the evidence of himself. No one offers him a chair. The clock ticks again. Behind the glass, the secretary's eyes flicker down to the paper, then back up to Jake's bent head. She says nothing. Principal Anderson slides the document closer. Your father has been notified. He'll be here shortly. The words land heavier than the paper. Jake nods once. He does not trust his voice. The office feels smaller now. The walls lined with framed photographs, championship teams, ribbon cuttings, smiling donors seem to lean inward. In each photo, polished shoes gleam. White shirts are crisp. Teeth flash under bright lights. Jake stares at the wood grain of the desk instead. A thin crack runs along the edge near the corner, barely visible unless you look for it. He wonders if anyone else sees cracks. Principal Anderson removes his glasses and wipes them with a folded cloth. The movement is slow, unhurried. This decision, he says carefully, is about maintaining harmony. Harmony. Jake feels heat rise behind his eyes. He blinks hard, forcing it back. No one notices. Not the principal. Not the secretary. Not the parents who demanded this outcome and now sit just beyond the glass, reassured by the quiet efficiency of the system. The paper waits. Jake reaches forward. His fingers hover over the edge, but don't touch it yet. There's a faint smear of soil along the side of his thumb. He presses it against his jeans, trying to clean it, but the mark only spreads lighter. In that moment, something settles inside him. A lesson, sharp and clear. In this world, kindness can be mistaken for weakness, and poverty can be treated like a violation. The handle on the office door rattles softly. Footsteps approach down the hallway, heavy, steady, familiar. Jake straightens just slightly. The clock ticks once more. Outside, wind moves again through the courtyard, lifting leaves into the air before letting them fall. Inside the office, the air remains still, and the paper with his name on it waits to be signed. The hallway outside the office smells faintly of floor wax and rain-soaked wool. Tom Mitchell's boots stop just short of the threshold. Mud has dried in pale flakes along the edges. He removes his cap before stepping in, turning it once in his rough hands as if smoothing something invisible. The secretary glances at him, then at the door, then back to her desk. Inside, the air shifts. Tom listens without interrupting. Principal Anderson speaks in measured tones about policy and environment and parental concerns. His voice never rises. It never cracks. It lands like carefully stacked stones. Tom's jaw tightens once when he hears the word, Times Disruptive Asterisk. Jake stands beside him, small but straight now. When the explanation ends, there's a brief pause. The hum of the air conditioner fills it. My son helped another boy, Tom says finally. His voice is steady, low, the kind shaped by open fields and long winters. That's what you're punishing him for. Principal Anderson offers a practiced smile that does not reach his eyes. Mr. Mitchell, we have policies to ensure all students feel comfortable. Jake's displays of generosity created unintended pressure among peers. Pressure. Tom's fingers curl slightly against the brim of his cap. The leather is worn smooth from years of use. He wants to argue. The words gather in his chest, sharp and hot. He wants to ask how sharing food could threaten a school with marble floors and state-of-the-art labs. But he knows how rooms like this work. He has spent his life just outside them. Instead, he places one calloused hand gently on Jake's shoulder. We understand, he says. The secretary looks up at that. A flicker of something uncertain, almost regretful, passes across her face. Father and son step back into the hallway. The door closes with a soft click. Outside, late afternoon, light stretches long shadows across the courtyard. A fountain trickles steadily, indifferent. Jake keeps his gaze forward as they walk to the parking lot. Gravel crunches beneath their boots. Neither speaks until the truck door shuts. The engine turns over with a rough cough. On the drive home, wind rattles against the windows. The fields roll past in quiet rows of brown and gold. The sky is wide and pale. Jake watches fence posts blur into lines. That night, in the small farmhouse kitchen, pipes tick faintly behind the walls. A single overhead bulb casts a warm circle of light onto the scarred wooden table. Tom sits across from Jake. Did I do something wrong, Dad? The question hangs in the air longer than it should. Tom reaches across the table and grips his son's hand. His palm is rough, warm, steady. You didn't do a single thing wrong. Jake's shoulders loosen just a little. What you did, that's exactly who you should be. Don't ever let anyone make you smaller for doing right. A truck passes on the distant road. Its headlights sweep briefly across the window before disappearing. Jake nods, but doubt still presses at the edges of him. Across town, in a quiet, modern kitchen lined with glass and steel, Marcus Chen sits at an island counter. The lights above are soft, recessed, controlled. His tray from school rests untouched beside him. He tells his parents everything. About the sandwich, the jacket, the folded bills, the office, the paper. His mother listens without interrupting. His father's jaw tightens the longer Marcus speaks. He didn't even want me to tell anyone, Marcus says quietly. He just helped. The room falls silent. Marcus's father picks up his phone. The screen lights his face in cool blue. He steps into another room before dialing. The call connects quickly. Across the line, a voice answers, measured, alert, older. Marcus's father explains in precise sentences. He does not raise his voice. He does not need to. On the other end, there is a pause. Then, a single, calm response. I see. The line goes quiet again for a moment, but not with uncertainty. With calculation. On the farm, night settles in fully. Crickets begin their steady rhythm outside the window. Jake lies awake, staring at the ceiling where faint cracks form thin lines above him. He traces them with his eyes. He replays the office in his mind, the desk, the paper, the word Times expelled asterisk. He tries to understand how giving something could take something away. In the dark, Tom stands by the sink, looking out at the fields barely visible under the moon. He rubs a thumb along the edge of the counter, slow and thoughtful. Neither of them knows about the phone call that has just ended. Neither of them hears the quiet instructions being given miles away. Early morning comes sharp and cold. Frost clings to the fence rails as Tom and Jake work side by side, tightening wire where it has loosened overnight. Breath clouds in the air. The world feels unchanged, until it doesn't. A faint vibration moves through the stillness. Jake pauses, hand mid-motion on the fence. Tom lifts his head. There it is again. Low, rhythmic. Whump. A distant thud in the sky. Whump. The sound grows, pressing into the open field, into the metal of the fence, into their ribs. They look up together. Beyond the tree line, just visible over the tops of bare branches, something dark moves against the pale morning sky. The blades beat harder now. Whump, whump. The quiet of the farm shatters as the helicopter descends toward Meadowbrook Academy. The sound arrives before the shape does. Whump, whump, whump. It rolls across the open sky and settles over Meadowbrook Academy like a warning. In the main office, morning announcements echo through ceiling speakers. And a reminder that the fall fundraiser, the glass in the windows begins to tremble. A thin vibration hums through the metal frames. A coffee cup on the secretary's desk rattles softly against its saucer. She looks up. "Sir," she calls, already halfway to the door. "There's a helicopter landing on the soccer field." The microphone in Principal Anderson's hand goes silent. Static hisses briefly before cutting out. Students in classrooms drift toward windows. Chairs scrape. Sneakers squeak against polished tile. A math worksheet flutters from a desk as someone presses closer to the glass. Outside, the manicured soccer field bends under a blast of wind. The helicopter lowers in controlled precision, blades slicing the crisp autumn air. Grass flattens outward in rippling rings. Fallen leaves lift and spiral, scattering across white boundary lines. Teachers step into hallways, trying to restore order, but their own eyes flick toward the field. The helicopter touches down. For a moment, it feels like the entire campus is holding its breath. The engine winds down in measured beats. The door opens. A man steps out first. His suit is charcoal, tailored close. Not a wrinkle, not a stray thread. Polished shoes meet the grass without hesitation. He does not rush. He does not hesitate. Behind him, two assistants emerge, one carrying a slim leather portfolio. Marcus's parents follow. The wind pulls at ties and hems. The smell of aviation fuel lingers sharp in the air. Inside the building, Gerald Morrison appears at the top of the front steps, drawn by the noise. His brow furrows as he watches from behind tinted lenses. Principal Anderson adjusts his glasses and smooths his jacket before stepping outside. The courtyard stones feel suddenly exposed under the bright morning light. Students cluster along the windows above, their reflections layered over the scene below. The man in the charcoal suit walks toward the entrance without waiting to be greeted. His pace is calm, deliberate. The security doors release with a muted beep as someone inside unlocks them remotely. He passes through without breaking stride. The lobby fills with the echo of his footsteps against marble tile. Whump! Even as the blades slow outside, the rhythm still feels present, lodged somewhere in the chest. In the hallway, whispers ripple from locker to locker. "That's Marcus's family." "Who is that?" "I think—" The main office door opens. The secretary stands halfway, unsure whether to offer a greeting or step aside. He does not wait for either. "Principal Anderson," he says. Voice even, low, carrying without effort. Anderson rises quickly from behind his desk. "Mr. Chen, we weren't expecting." The man's gaze is steady. "I'm here about Jake Mitchell." The name lands differently this time. There is a shift in the room, subtle but immediate. Gerald Morrison steps in from behind, hands clasped loosely behind his back, posture polished. "And what concern would you have regarding that matter?" Morrison asks, tone smooth. The man turns his head slightly, not sharply, not aggressively, just enough. "My grandson forgot his lunch," he says. Jake gave him his own. The air conditioner hums faintly. "My grandson was caught in the rain." Jake gave him his jacket. Morrison's jaw tightens. My grandson mentioned his family was navigating a transition. Jake offered him $40. The number hangs in the air like a small, fragile thing. Anderson's fingers tap once against the desk before stilling. Outside, the helicopter blades slow to a stop. Silence settles again, but this silence is not engineered. It is charged. The assistant beside Mr. Chen opens the leather portfolio. Inside, papers are arranged in precise stacks. A tablet screen glows faintly. Anderson glances at Morrison, then back. There were concerns about social dynamics, he begins carefully. Several families felt uncomfortable. Mr. Chen supplies, tone unchanged. No one answers. He steps forward once, stopping just short of the desk. You expelled a child for generosity. His voice does not rise. It does not need to. Through the glass partition, the secretary watches without pretending otherwise. Her hands hover over her keyboard, unmoving. Students outside the office door pretend to adjust backpacks while straining to hear. In the distance, somewhere down the hall, a locker slams shut. The sound echoes. Mr. Chen's assistant places a folder on the desk. The leather makes a soft thud against polished wood. The faint scent of aviation fuel still clings to the air, mixing now with lemon polish and something sharper anticipation. Principal Anderson swallows. In the courtyard, leaves settle back onto the ground. Inside, the balance of the room tilts quietly, unmistakably. And for the first time that morning, no one in the office feels certain about how this will end. The office door closes with a soft, controlled click. It sounds louder than it should. Principal Anderson remains standing behind his desk. Gerald Morrison shifts his weight near the window, fingers brushing the cuff of his tailored jacket. The secretary's silhouette moves faintly behind the glass partition, frozen in place. Victor Chen does not sit. He studies the framed mission statement on the wall gold lettering against cream parchment. Character, integrity, leadership. He turns back slowly. You expelled a child for demonstrating all three. The air feels thinner. Principal Anderson clears his throat. Mr. Chen, I believe there has been a misunderstanding regarding the broader social context. There is no broader context, Victor replies evenly. There is a boy who shared food. His assistant opens the folder and slides a sheet across the desk. The paper whispers against polished wood. Gerald Morrison steps closer, posture still composed. This situation was handled according to policy. The Mitchell boy was creating disruption among students. Victor's gaze shifts to him. Not sharp, not heated, just steady. My grandson forgot his lunch. Jake Mitchell gave him his own. Silence press in. My grandson was soaked in the rain. Jake gave him his jacket. Morrison's jaw tightens slightly. My grandson mentioned his family was experiencing a difficult transition. Jake offered $40. The number lands again heavier now. Victor's voice lowers a fraction. He offered what little he had. The hum of the air conditioner fills the pause. Principal Anderson folds his hands. Our concern was not generosity itself. It was the discomfort expressed by several families. When one student's actions create social imbalance, discomfort, Victor repeats softly. He glances again at the mission statement. You advertise leadership. You celebrate service hours. You publish photos of students volunteering for curated causes. He looks back at them. And when compassion appears without a camera, you remove it. Morrison inhales sharply. That's an unfair characterization. Victor takes one step closer to the desk. The movement is minimal, but it shifts the air in the room. What is unfair, he says calmly, is teaching children that kindness must be approved by wealth. No one answers. Outside the office, faint whispers ripple through the hallway. The metallic clang of a locker closing echoes distantly. Principal Anderson adjusts his glasses. Mr. Chen, Meadowbrook Academy values character, but we must ensure no student feels pressured or shamed by another's actions. Victor tilts his head slightly. Pressured to do what? Anderson hesitates. To reciprocate. Victor's expression does not change. You believe children felt pressured to share their lunch? The silence stretches. Morrison shifts again, a faint creak from his leather shoes against tile. This school, Morrison says carefully, maintains an environment of equal standing among its students. Victor studies him for a long moment. Equal, he repeats. Through the glass partition, the secretary lowers her gaze to her desk. Victor's assistant taps once on the folder, drawing attention to a page near the top. Numbers line the margin. Financial figures, annual contributions, endowment percentages. Victor does not look down. I am aware, he says quietly, that Meadowbrook receives substantial donor funding. The words hang between them. And I am aware, he continues, that certain donors hold significant influence over policy interpretation. Morrison's shoulders stiffen. Principal Anderson interjects quickly. Our policies are applied consistently. Victor's gaze sharpens, not with anger, but with precision. Consistently, he says. Then I assume every child who shares a sandwich has been disciplined. The clock on the wall ticks once. No one moves. Victor's voice lowers again. You have confused discomfort with injustice. The faint scent of aviation fuel still lingers, almost metallic beneath the office's polished sterility. He places his palm lightly on the edge of the desk. Not forceful, not threatening, just present. My grandson told me something else. The room waits. He said Jake did not look around before helping him. He did not calculate who might be watching. He did not ask for anything in return. Victor's eyes settle on Anderson. That is the kind of character you claim to cultivate. Morrison exhales through his nose. With respect, Mr. Chen, this matter has already been resolved. Victor looks at him. Resolved for whom? The question is quiet. It lands harder than any raised voice. Outside, somewhere in the courtyard, a gust of wind pushes leaves against stone. The faint scrape filters through the glass. Principal Anderson's composure begins to show faint cracks barely visible, but present in the slight tightening around his eyes. What outcome are you seeking? He asks. Victor straightens. A correction. The word is simple. Précise. The assistant closes the folder gently, aligning its edges with the desk. The room remains still. For the first time since stepping inside, Victor finally sits. The leather chair beneath him shifts softly. He places both hands on his knees, posture relaxed but immovable. This is not about embarrassment, he says. It is about alignment. Morrison's voice is quieter now. Alignment with what? Victor meets his gaze without blinking. With what you claim to stand for. The clock ticks again. And for the first time, the authority in the room no longer feels one-sided. Victor does not raise his voice. He reaches into his jacket and removes his phone. The movement is unhurried. Glass meets wood with a quiet, deliberate click as he sets it on the principal's desk. The sound lands like punctuation. I prefer clarity, he says. His assistant steps forward, tapping the screen once. A document appears rows of figures, percentages, donor breakdowns. The top corner reads, asterisk, asterisk, 712A. M, asterisk, asterisk, in small digital type. The faint blue light reflects in Principal Anderson's glasses. Meadowbrook Academy's annual operating budget, Victor continues, is supported by private contributions at 38%. The number hangs in the air. Gerald Morrison's expression tightens almost imperceptibly. Victor scrolls. A second page appears, line items, highlighted entries, names redacted except for one already familiar. Mr. Morrison's foundation accounts for a significant portion of that percentage. The air conditioner hum seems louder now. Principal Anderson clears his throat. Our donors are essential to maintaining our academic excellence. Victor nods once. I do not dispute that. He swipes again. A mission statement appears identical to the framed copy on the wall. The words asterisk, asterisk, character, integrity, leadership, asterisk, asterisk, glow on the screen. You publicly celebrate students who demonstrate service, Victor says evenly. You publish their photos in brochures. You invite cameras to charity drives. He lets the silence stretch. And yet, when generosity appears without permission, it becomes disruptive. The word lingers like a stain. Morrison folds his arms. This is a matter of internal governance. Victor looks up at him. Governance requires consistency. His assistant slides a printed report across the desk. The paper edges are sharp, recently cut. A faint scent of toner rises as it settles. Filed at 8:03 a.m., the assistant says quietly. Time stamped. Chain clear. Victor rests his fingertips lightly against the phone. I had my team review this situation this morning. The phrase is simple: no flourish, no threat. Principal Anderson's gaze shifts between the screen and the man seated before him. "Mr. Chen," Anderson says carefully, "our responsibility is to maintain an environment where no student feels socially pressured." Victor tilts his head slightly. "Pressured to share?" he asks. The question is almost gentle. Anderson's jaw tightens. Morrison steps forward. When one child's actions create imbalance among families of different means, discomfort arises. That discomfort affects enrollment stability. Enrollment stability. The words feel transactional. Victor's expression does not change. "Discomfort," he repeats. He picks up the phone and turns it slightly so both men can see the final page. Projected enrollment forecasts. Projected donor commitments. A blank column where renewal signatures should be. "I am prepared to make a substantial contribution to this institution," Victor says. Morrison's posture shifts, subtle, but hopeful. Victor continues before the silence can settle. "It comes with conditions." The hope drains. The faint tick of the wall clock grows pronounced. Principal Anderson adjusts his glasses again. "What conditions?" Victor's gaze remains steady. "Immediate reinstatement of Jake Mitchell." The words are clean, precise, with a full academic scholarship. The air in the room tightens. "And," he adds, "the establishment of a permanent fund recognizing students who demonstrate exceptional character, regardless of family income." The assistant slides another document forward. Its header reads, **** Draft Endowment Agreement, ***. Proposed initial funding allocation," the assistant says softly. A number appears in bold. Several zeros follow. Morrison exhales through his nose. "You can't simply override policy because of personal sentiment." Victor's eyes meet his. "This is not sentiment." He taps the mission statement on the screen. "This is alignment." The faint scent of aviation fuel has faded, replaced by paper and polish and something sharper uncertainty. Principal Anderson's voice lowers. "If we were to consider such an arrangement, the board would require time." "You have 1 hour," Victor says. No emphasis, no raised tone, just a boundary. "My assistants will remain here to ensure documentation is properly prepared." The assistant places a pen beside the draft agreement. It rolls once before settling. "Time stamped upon execution," she adds. Anderson swallows. Morrison's composure fractures slightly. "This sets a dangerous precedent." Victor looks at him calmly. "What precedent?" "That influence determines outcome." Victor studies him for a long moment. "Influence already determined outcome," he says quietly. The room falls still. Outside the office door, faint whispers drift through the hallway again. The school day continues. Bells, footsteps, distant laughter, but it feels detached from the tension inside. Victor stands. The leather chair exhales softly as he rises. "You misjudged a boy who acted without calculation," he says. "Do not misjudge the cost of that mistake." He glances once more at the framed mission statement on the wall. Then back at the principal. "You have 60 minutes. His assistant closes the folder with precise alignment. The sound is soft but final. The clock ticks again. And for the first time since the helicopter touched down, the authority in the room feels conditional. The clock begins to matter. Its steady ticking no longer blends into the room. It measures something now. 58 minutes. Principal Anderson stands, smoothing the front of his jacket with both hands before reaching for the phone on his desk. His fingers hesitate for half a second, then press a button. "Please notify the board," he says, voice controlled. "Emergency review. Immediate." The line clicks off. Gerald Morrison remains near the window, arms folded tighter than before. The sunlight catches the side of his watch, throwing a sharp reflection across the wall. "This is reckless," he says quietly. "You're allowing outside pressure to dictate internal policy." Victor does not look at him. "I am allowing your stated values to dictate your actions." His assistant opens a slim laptop. The screen glows softly, illuminating columns of prepared documentation. Templates weight reinstatement forms, scholarship agreements, fund charters. Paper is not being invented. It is being activated. Principal Anderson exhales slowly. "If we proceed, the language must be precise." "It will be," Victor replies. The assistant slides a draft across the desk. Immediate reinstatement. Effective today. Below it, a line for signature. Anderson reads carefully, lips moving slightly as he tracks the clauses. The faint scent of toner rises again as another page is printed from the office machine in the corner. It hums to life, mechanical and indifferent. Morrison steps forward. You're creating a narrative that undermines donor trust. Victor turns his head slightly. No, he says. You created that narrative when you punished integrity. The printer stops with a soft, mechanical sigh. The secretary enters quietly, placing the freshly printed documents in a neat stack. Her hands tremble just slightly before she folds them together at her waist. Time? Victor asks. The assistant checks her watch. 41 minutes. Anderson removes his glasses and rubs the bridge of his nose. The lines at the corners of his eyes appear deeper now. The board will require assurance, he says. This fund its scope, its oversight. Will be transparent, Victor answers. Merit-based, character-based, documented annually. He nods toward the laptop. Independent review. Morrison's jaw tightens again. And who defines character? Victor meets his gaze evenly. Not comfort. Silence. Outside the window, students cross the courtyard, unaware of the recalibration happening above them. Leaves scatter across stone as wind shifts direction. Anderson straightens the stack of papers, aligning the corners carefully against the desk. You understand, he says slowly. This changes our precedent. Victor considers that. It corrects it. The assistant turns the laptop toward Anderson. A digital transfer confirmation screen waits. Pending authorization, she says. A blank line glows beneath it. Morrison steps back, exhaling sharply. The confidence that once filled his posture now seems thinner. This will not sit well, he mutters. Victor's tone remains calm. Then let it unsettle what should not have been comfortable. The clock ticks again. 23. Anderson picks up the pen. It hovers briefly over the reinstatement form. Ink meets paper. The signature is slower this time. Measured. Final. The assistant marks the page with a small stamp. The red ink presses cleanly onto the lower corner. Asterisk, asterisk, 11:42 a.m. Asterisk, asterisk. Time captured. Chain clear. A second signature follows on the scholarship agreement. Then the fund charter. Each page stamped. Each page aligned. Morrison watches without speaking. When the final document is signed, the assistant presses one last key on the laptop. A soft chime confirms transfer. Executed, she says. Victor rises. The leather chair shifts quietly behind him. Thank you, he says not warmly, but formally. Anderson nods stiffly. We will contact the Mitchell family immediately. Victor inclines his head once. I suggest you do. The secretary steps forward to gather copies. Her movements are steadier now. Purpose replaces hesitation. As she exits, the hallway beyond seems brighter somehow, though the light has not changed. Morrison remains by the window, gaze fixed on the courtyard below. You're setting an example, he says finally. Victor adjusts the cuff of his sleeve. Yes. Morrison turns slightly. Of influence. Victor pauses at the door. Of consequence. The word hangs in the air long after he leaves the office. In the hallway, students pretend not to stare as he walks past. The faint scent of polished floors rises under each step. Outside, the helicopter waits silent now, blades still. The assistant checks her watch once more. 2 minutes remain on the hour. Victor steps into the courtyard. Wind brushes lightly against his jacket. Behind him, inside the office, Principal Anderson lowers himself into his chair and stares at the freshly stamped documents. The clock reaches the top of the hour. And for the first time that morning, the ticking no longer measures resistance. It marks correction. Tom's phone vibrates against the kitchen counter. It rattles once, then again, skidding slightly over the worn wood before he catches it. The screen glows with an unfamiliar number. He answers without greeting. There is a pause on the other end, measured, formal. Yes, Tom says finally. We can be there. He ends the call and looks toward the doorway where Jake stands, a wrench still in his hand from the fence repair. They want us back at the school. Jake doesn't ask why. He sets the wrench down carefully on the table. The truck engine turns over with a low rumble. Gravel pops under the tires as they pull onto the road. The sky is wide and colorless, clouds stretched thin like worn fabric. Neither speaks during the drive. When Meadowbrook Academy comes into view, it looks unchanged, stone facade gleaming in late morning light, banners hanging perfectly straight. But something feels different. Students cluster near the entrance. Conversations hush as the truck pulls into the lot. Heads turn. Eyes follow. Tom parks near the curb. He steps out first. His boots leave faint impressions in the dust before meeting polished stone. Jake follows. The double doors open before they reach them. The secretary stands there, posture composed, hands folded lightly in front of her. "Mr. Mitchell," "Jake," she says gently, "please come in." The lobby air feels cooler than outside. Clean, filtered, the faint scent of floor polish lingers. Their footsteps echo faintly across the marble tile. The same hallway stretches ahead, lockers gleaming under fluorescent lights. Students pretend not to stare but fail. Jake keeps his shoulders straight. They reach the office door. It opens immediately. Principal Anderson stands behind his desk again, but this time the paper waiting on its surface is different. No heavy cream expulsion notice. A new stack, neatly aligned. Victor Chen stands near the window. Sunlight outlines the sharp edge of his suit. When Jake enters, Victor turns. His expression is not triumphant. It is attentive. "Jake," he says evenly. Jake nods once. Tom removes his cap again, fingers tracing the worn brim. Principal Anderson clears his throat. "Your reinstatement has been approved, effective immediately." The words settle slowly. Jake glances at his father. Tom's jaw tightens, but he says nothing. The secretary steps forward with a document. The paper is crisp, untouched. At the bottom corner, a red stamp marks it cleanly. Asterisk, asterisk. Reinstated 1142A. M, asterisk, asterisk. Time captured. Victor gestures lightly toward the desk. "There is also a full academic scholarship," he says. "It will cover your tuition moving forward." Jake blinks. The room feels very quiet. "You don't owe anyone anything for it," Victor adds. "It recognizes what you already did." Tom's hand finds Jake's shoulder again. Firm, grounding. Principal Anderson adjusts his glasses. Additionally, a new character recognition fund has been established. The words sound rehearsed. "It will support students who demonstrate integrity and generosity." Victor's gaze remains on Jake. "It will carry your name." Jake's breath catches faintly. "Why?" he asks, before he can stop himself. Victor studies him. "My grandson told me you didn't look around to see who was watching." The faint hum of the air conditioner fills the space between sentences. "You helped because you saw someone who needed help." Jake lowers his eyes briefly, unsure where to place them. "That's rare," Victor continues quietly. "Don't lose it." Tom extends his hand. Victor takes it. Tom's palm is rough, scarred from wire and wood. Victor's grip is firm but measured. "Thank you," Tom says, voice thick but steady. "For seeing him." Victor shakes his head slightly. "You raised him." The words land heavier than any check. Behind the glass partition, the secretary blinks rapidly before looking down at her desk. Outside the office, a locker slams. Laughter bursts, then fades. Life continues. Principal Anderson slides the final page across the desk. "If you'll sign here," he says. Tom signs. Ink meets paper cleanly this time. No hesitation. The assistant steps forward, aligning copies. One is handed to Tom. One remains in the file. Each stamped. Chain complete. Jake stands still for a moment, absorbing the room, the framed mission statement, the polished desk, the sunlight against the glass. It all looks the same, but it does not feel the same. Victor moves toward the door. "We'll let you return to class," he says. Jake nods again. As he and his father step back into the hallway, whispers ripple outward like water disturbed by a stone. "That's him. They brought him back." Tom pauses briefly before the double doors. "You walk in there like you belong," he says quietly. Jake looks up at him. "I do?" Tom's hand squeezes his shoulder once. "You always did." Jake steps forward. The hallway seems longer than before. Students shift aside slightly as he passes, not dramatically. Just enough to notice. Near the lockers, Marcus stands waiting. Their eyes meet. No words at first. Just a small nod. A recognition. Behind them, in the office, Victor watches through the glass for a moment longer. Then he turns away. Outside, the helicopter blades begin to spin again. Soft at first, then stronger. Whump, whump, whump. This time, the sound does not feel like an intrusion. It feels like a departure. And as the doors close behind Jake, the air inside the school feels subtly, undeniably altered. By lunchtime, the story no longer belongs to the office. It moves through corridors in fragments, half whispers, widened eyes, quick glances toward the soccer field, where flattened grass still marks the landing. In the cafeteria, trays slide along metal rails. The smell of warm bread and tomato sauce fills the air. Chairs scrape. Voices overlap. Jake carries his tray the way he always has, balanced carefully, eyes scanning for an empty space. This time, he doesn't find one. Marcus lifts a hand from a corner table. There is room beside him. Jake sits. For a moment, neither speaks. The hum of conversation swells and dips around them. Across the room, Brittany Morrison stands near her usual circle. Her laughter falters mid-sentence as she notices the subtle shift. Two students at a nearby table split a sandwich without making a show of it. One of them shrugs off a hoodie and drapes it over another's shoulders as a draft slips through the doors. No one is filming. No one is announcing it. It just happens. Brittany looks away first. At the faculty table, a teacher scrolls quietly through her phone. An article headline glows briefly before she lowers the screen. Asterisk, local school reinstates student after policy review. Asterisk. The phrasing is careful. The implications are not. Upstairs, in the administrative wing, the printer hums again. Copies of the new charter are being placed into official binders. The ink is fresh. The paper edges are sharp. The secretary smooths a page flat before sliding it into place. The header reads, asterisk, asterisk, the Jake Mitchell Character Fund, asterisk, asterisk. The name looks unfamiliar in that font, formal, permanent. She exhales softly. In the hallway outside the office, a framed bulletin board already carries a new printed notice. Effective immediately. Recognition of exceptional character. Students slow as they pass it. Some read. Some just glance. In a classroom down the corridor, a history teacher clears his throat before beginning the lesson. His gaze lingers a fraction longer on Jake than usual. Not with pity, but with something closer to respect. The rhythm of the school day resumes, but it is slightly offbeat. Conversations pause where they might have continued before. Jokes lose a little edge. Near the lockers, Marcus leans against cool metal. My grandfather, he says quietly, doesn't usually come to schools. Jake shrugs, unsure what to do with that. I didn't ask him to, Marcus adds. I know, Jake replies. Their eyes meet briefly, and that's enough. Down the hall, Gerald Morrison walks past a cluster of parents who have gathered unexpectedly near the front office. Their smiles are thinner than usual, their voices lower as he approaches. He nods once, but his expression is harder to read. In the courtyard, wind brushes against banners stretched between columns. The fabric flutters lightly, catching sunlight. A small group of younger students sit cross-legged near the fountain, trading snacks. One boy hesitates before offering the last cookie in his bag. He glances around once old habit, then pushes it toward the girl beside him. She accepts. No one applauds. No one gasps. But the gesture lands. Inside the office, Principal Anderson stands alone for a moment, staring at the framed mission statement on the wall. Character, integrity, leadership. The words seem sharper now. He adjusts the frame slightly, straightening it by a fraction of an inch. A knock at the door breaks the silence. Sir, the secretary says gently, the press has called. Anderson inhales slowly. Prepare a statement, he replies. We are reaffirming our commitment to our values. The phrasing sounds different now. Less ornamental. More accountable. In the parking lot, the helicopter sits ready. Its blades are still, but the engine ticks faintly as it cools. Victor Chen stands beside it, speaking briefly with his assistant. Across the courtyard, Jake exits the building at the end of the day. The late afternoon light casts long shadows over stone. Victor watches him from a distance, not calling out, not intruding. Jake pauses near the steps where the grass begins. For a moment he looks back at the building. It is the same stone facade, the same tall windows, the same banners. But something invisible has shifted inside its walls. Victor steps into the helicopter without ceremony. The door closes with a solid click. A moment later, the blades begin to turn. Slow at first, then stronger. Whump, whump, whump. Students gather again at windows, but the energy feels different, less spectacle, more awareness. The helicopter lifts, rising above the field, above the courtyard, above the school. Leaves scatter once more in concentric circles before settling back down. Jake stands still until the sound fades into distance. Beside him, Marcus joins quietly. Neither speaks. They don't need to. Behind them, the doors of Meadowbrook Academy close for the evening. Inside, in lockers and classrooms and quiet corners, something small but undeniable continues to unfold. Not because of policy, not because of wealth, because a single act of generosity refused to stay small. And now, it has a name. By the end of the week, the story no longer belongs to the campus. It moves through screens. Phones glow in dark bedrooms. Group chats buzz past midnight. A short clip, grainy but clear, circulates. Helicopter descending. Students pressed to windows. A caption that reads, asterisk, all this over a sandwich. Asterisk. The clip loops. Whump, whump, whump. Online, headlines sharpen what whispers began. Private school reinstates student after donor pressure debate. When kindness becomes disruptive. The phrasing varies. The implication does not. At Meadowbrook, mornings feel different. The front office phone rings more often. The secretary's voice is steady but measured as she fields calls. Yes, the matter has been resolved. Yes, a new character initiative has been established. Yes, the board stands behind the decision. Each answer is careful. In the faculty lounge, a muted television plays a brief segment. A news anchor speaks beneath a banner graphic. Principal Anderson appears in a recorded statement, posture straight, tone neutral. Our institution remains committed to fostering integrity and leadership among all students. The clip ends. The coffee machine hisses. No one comments out loud. In the parking lot, fewer luxury sedans arrive than usual. One afternoon, Gerald Morrison exits the building through a side door rather than the front. His phone is pressed tightly to his ear. I never instructed, he says, voice low. He stops walking when he notices two students nearby. He lowers his tone further. This has been mischaracterized. He ends the call without waiting for a response. Inside the building, the newly mounted plaque bearing the fund's name catches afternoon light. Students slow as they pass it, reading quietly. A group of sophomores begin organizing a small donation drive for a local shelter. No assembly announces it. No newsletter promotes it. A handwritten sign appears on a locker. Asterisk. Leave what you can. Asterisk. Coins clink into a tin. A folded $5 bill slips in. In the cafeteria, something subtle continues to ripple. Students glance less at labels on backpacks and more at the space beside them. Tables shift in shape clusters, rearranging without fanfare. Brittany Morrison stands in line one day with her tray balanced carefully. The conversation around her thins, not cruelly, not loudly, just enough to feel. Across the room, two younger students share a carton of milk between them, laughing at something private and harmless. Brittany looks at them, then down at her own tray. For the first time, she hesitates. Not out of fear, out of awareness. Upstairs, the board convenes in a closed meeting. The conference room smells faintly of polished wood and stale coffee. Papers shuffle. Chairs shift. The optics were unfavorable, one board member says. The values were inconsistent, another replies. There is no shouting, no dramatic confrontation, just acknowledgement. Outside the conference room, a framed photograph of last year's graduating class hangs slightly crooked. A maintenance worker pauses to straighten it. On the athletic field, practice resumes as usual. Cleats dig into grass, whistles pierce the air. But even here, something lingers. A freshman drops his water bottle. Another player picks it up and hands it back without comment. No one claps. No one keeps score. In classrooms, discussions take on new edges. During a civics lesson, a teacher asks, "What defines leadership?" Hands rise. Power? One student offers. Influence? Another suggests. A quieter voice from the back says, "Doing the right thing when no one's watching." The room falls briefly silent before the teacher nods. "Write that down," she says. By Friday afternoon, the story has traveled far enough that it begins to lose its specifics. Online debates widen beyond the original moment. Comment sections fill with arguments about privilege, responsibility, institutional pressure. Meadowbrook's name trends for a day, then slips lower. But inside the school, the change does not fade with the headlines. It settles. Not loudly, not theatrically. In the administrative wing, Principal Anderson pauses longer than usual when reviewing disciplinary reports. His pen hovers before signing anything. In the courtyard, a group of seniors sit near the fountain. One of them mentions the scholarship fund. "Do you think they'll actually give it to someone?" a girl asks. "They have to," someone else replies. "It's named." The word carries weight. Named. Across campus, small gestures continue unremarkable alone, undeniable together. No official mandate required them. No helicopter enforced them. Late one afternoon, as the sun lowers behind the stone facade, Jake walks past the bulletin board where the fund announcement remains pinned. He stops briefly, not to admire it, but to confirm it exists. The paper edges have begun to curl slightly at the corners. Real. Marcus joins him. "You okay?" Marcus asks. Jake nods. "Yeah." They stand there for a moment longer, watching other students move past. Conversations rise and fall. Lockers slam. The bell rings. Life continues, but the axis has shifted quietly, permanently, not because someone powerful intervened, but because a simple act refused to disappear, and now it refuses to be forgotten. Years pass the way seasons do quietly at first, then all at once. On graduation morning, the auditorium glows under warm stage lights. Rows of folding chairs stretch in perfect lines across polished wood. Programs rest neatly on each seat, the school crest embossed in silver at the top. A low murmur fills the room as families settle in. Fabric rustles, cameras click softly. The faint scent of fresh flowers drifts from arrangements near the stage. Backstage, Jake adjusts the edge of his graduation gown. The fabric feels heavier than he expected. He smooths it once, then lets his hands fall to his sides. Through the curtain, he can see the first few rows. Tom sits near the aisle, wearing the only suit he owns. It fits imperfectly at the shoulders. His hands rest loosely on his knees, still rough, still marked by years of work. He does not try to hide them. Beside him sits Victor Chen. His posture is composed, hands folded lightly, expression calm. He nods once when Jake's eyes meet his. The ceremony begins with the usual rhythm names called applause rising and falling like waves. Then Jake's name is announced last. Valedictorian. The word echoes briefly against the high ceiling. Applause swells, fuller this time. Jake steps toward the podium. His shoes make a soft, measured sound against the stage floor. The microphone stands waiting, angled slightly downward. He adjusts it once. The feedback hum fades. He looks out over the auditorium. For a moment, he says nothing. The silence is not engineered this time. It is chosen. He inhales slowly. "When I was younger," he begins, voice steady but unforced, "I thought doing the right thing would always make sense." A faint shift in the audience, people leaning forward. "I didn't know it could cost something." He pauses. The lights above cast a soft halo along the edges of the stage. "There was a day when I gave away a lunch, a jacket, $40 I'd saved." A ripple moves through the room, recognition without spectacle. "I didn't think about what it meant. I just saw someone who needed help." His gaze moves briefly to the front row. "My father once told me not to let anyone make me smaller for doing right." Tom lowers his head slightly, jaw tightening as emotion passes quietly across his face. Jake continues. "At the time, I thought I'd lost something important." He lets that settle. "But what I learned is this. Sometimes, you only understand the value of something when it's tested." The auditorium remains still. No scholarship, no title, no award changes who you are unless you let it. He grips the edges of the podium lightly. The measure of our lives isn't what we accumulate, a breath. It's what we give away when it costs us something to give. Silence falls again, not empty, but full. In the front row, Victor's gaze remains steady. There is no visible pride, no overt display, just quiet affirmation. Jake's voice softens slightly. We all get moments where we decide who we are, not when it's easy, not when it's comfortable. He looks out over his classmates, faces familiar, older now, but when it matters. He steps back from the microphone. Applause rises, not explosive, not dramatic, but sustained, real. Tom stands, clapping with hands that have weathered wind and wire and years of work. He does not wipe the moisture from his eyes. Victor stands as well, applause measured but firm. Across the auditorium, students rise. Teachers, parents. For a moment, the sound fills the room completely. When it finally settles, graduates begin to move toward the stage, one last time. Diplomas are placed into hands. Photographs are taken. Laughter mixes with relief. Outside, the late afternoon sun warms the stone steps, leading away from the building. Families gather for pictures beneath banners that flutter gently in the breeze. Jake steps outside with his diploma tucked under his arm. Tom joins him first. "You did good," Tom says simply. Jake smiles faintly. "You too." A few steps away, Victor approaches. "No cameras this time," Victor says quietly. Jake shakes his hand. "No helicopters either." Victor allows the smallest hint of a smile. "Good." They stand there for a moment, three figures from different beginnings, connected by something that no longer feels fragile. Around them, classmates hug and laugh and make plans for futures that stretch wide and uncertain. The building behind them remains the same stone facade it has always been, but the culture inside it has shifted in ways less visible. A group of younger students pass by, one handing another a folded program to keep as a souvenir. Small gesture. Unremarkable. Unforced. Jake watches it for a second, then looks back toward the open doors of the auditorium. The air carries the faint scent of summer. Somewhere in the distance, wind brushes through trees. He adjusts his grip on the diploma and steps forward. Character counts more than comfort.